Hello and good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Welch speaking. I'm director of Archetypical, which is a business that provides simulations for people who want to make the transition from technical expert to strategic advisor. Today, I'm going to talk about the 6 key influencing styles and what you need to make an impact with your colleagues, your clients, and to make a positive impact on your career. By the end of this session, you'll know the 6 key influencing styles and when to use each to achieve your goals. One of the projects that I work on is a project called Corporate Snakes and Career Ladders, which is all around a business simulation to help people make the transition from expert to advisor. And what I'm going to tell you today is one of the modules that we teach in that, which is about the key influencing styles. And as you go in your career, the move from being a technical expert to a strategic advisor is an important one. And what happens is, as you get more senior, you need to influence more, and you need to learn how to persuade senior stakeholders, internal customers, external customers, and colleagues to a particular course of action. And there are really 6 key influencing styles. And today I'm going to teach you the recipe for influence. And like I say, this is part of one of the modules that we teach in our business simulation. So the first style is R, and here's a picture of Bill Gates. And this is meant to symbolize the reward influencing style. And really, this is all about people and you giving something in exchange for a future unspecified promise. So what you're doing is you're giving something as part of your influencing strategy and expecting nothing in return. So for example, if you've ever worked overtime or done a little bit extra for somebody, that's all part of the reward influencing style. It often sounds like, as a sign of good faith, or here's a little extra, or I promised this and here it is. And it's a really useful style to use when you want to establish a long-term relationship. You don't want anything in return right away, or you're trying to invest in the relationship. And an important tip related to that style is, as you're putting money in the bank in terms of the reward style, as you're delivering a little bit extra, don't forget at some point you want to cash out eventually and use all that reward to get something in return. The second influencing style we call exchange. And this is Indra Noory, and she was chief executive of PepsiCo. And what she did when she became chief executive was make an exchange with the person who didn't get the job. And that was really all about making a deal. The person who was second who in the competition to get the job, in normal situations, they might have left the company. What she did was she went to them and made a deal with them and said, if I persuade you to stay at the company, what do I need to do? And what exchange do we need to make in order for you to stay with us? And that was really about the exchange influencing style. It sounds a bit like making a deal. If you do this, what can I give you in return? Can we make an arrangement? And you can use it when you have something that each other needs and there's a fairly equal relationship between you. And it's a great tool to use for short terms. It's really useful for sales teams. It can be great as a kind of reward incentive approach. The third influencing style is called connect. And I'm just going to get a picture of that here for you. And that's really symbolized by politicians. And there's a couple of great examples of that, which are this picture here, which is Presidents Obama and Clinton. And they're great at the connect style. And this is really when you want to engage on a personal or emotional level. Sometimes you can use the style to cash in on previous reward influencing behavior. And it often sounds like, please do this for me, or we can do this together, or and trust me, so let's work together and get this done. And you can use it when you have strong and shared goals, you've got a good relationship. And really the key to making this influencing style work is around eye contact and the personal connection. The third influencing style is symbolized by Hermione Granger from Harry Potter. And, her behavior is all about using facts and logic and research. And this influencing style is called inform, so the I of recipe. And this is where you use facts and data and logic to prove your point. It's often seen as the default style in business. We hear about communicators all the time saying, oh, well, if I could prove the ROI, or if I could just get some data to show what I'm doing is successful, um, or evidence suggests that we can do this. This is a great style to use when you know your audience will be persuaded by facts and data, by reason. And it's very effective in front of finance or legal teams who are more fact and business and data-based professions. It's very effective when used in conjunction with other styles as well. So if you're thinking about influencing using inform, that's a great approach and it works really well in business, but it can be equally powerful when combined with some other style, and whether that might be the reward style or the exchange style or the connect style. Connect and inform work very well together. For example, you've got the relationship and you've got the facts and the data. And you can use this style as a starting point for your conversations. But I think that one of the problems that communicators often face is that they rely a bit too much on trying to use the influencing style of inform. And they try to have the debate and the discussion on the language of the finance people or the legal people. And actually, as communicators, we're really good at using a mix of styles. And we may be great at inform, but we're probably better at some of the other styles, which I've covered or will do. And so I would really encourage you as communication professionals to think about the different styles that you use, and to use the informed style, yes, but then think about how it combines with other styles. And one of those other styles is the picture style. And this is really symbolized by John Lennon and his song, Imagine. And if you remember that song, he talks about imagining there's no people, imagining there's a world. And what he's really doing there is what's known as the picture style of influencing. And this is about painting a picture of the future. It's tapping into the imagination. It's tapping into emotions. It's changing the resonance of your talk. It's painting a vision of the future. And often sounds like, telling stories, imagine our business in the future. It's very common style in famous speeches when people talk about having a dream, or people talk about winning the war, or people talk about, achieving something together, or making a country great again. This is all about painting visions of the future and really thinking about inspiring and really connecting with the emotional resonance of your audience to persuade and influence. And I think for communicators, this style can be very nicely combined with the inform style to really paint a picture of the future, but then back it up with facts and data. Because one of the risks of, pardon me, the picture style is that it paints this nirvana of the future. And what you really want to do is then bring it back to reality. And a lot of leaders have a challenge of they can visualize the future, but they can't bring it back to reality. And I think this is where communicators can really help a lot by taking that vision of the future and connecting it with reality and demonstrating how there's a bridge between the future and the present. And when you advise your clients or your colleagues around this, the future plus some data from inform, so picture plus inform, is a really powerful combination that can work well. And you can use the picture style when you want to have an emotional connection or stir your audience to action, but then combining it with some practical steps is really powerful. So it's not just about painting a picture of the future, but giving people evidence and data of how they can get there. And if you have any doubt about how the picture style works, it's worth reading Harvard Business Review case studies, because they will often start with a story or an imaginary manager. You'll often read the beginning of one will be, a manager in a large corporation, let's call her Jane, had the challenge of X. And that may not be about the future vision, but it is about painting the picture, and it is about connecting emotionally with your audience. And we imagine Jane and her challenge and trying to help her support her career. And I think that kind of personal connection is really important. And I know in some of my work, when I do business simulations, by creating imaginary characters and putting them into imaginary situations, you can really focus the audience attention and get them picturing themselves in that scene and get them to think about how they would react in those situations. So you can use picture in your stories, in the openings of your talks. And like I said before, it's very strong when combined with inform. The final style, the E in recipe, is called exit. And this is really symbolized by Chrystia Freeland, who's the Minister of External Affairs of Canada. And you may remember a few years ago, there was a negotiation between Canada and the European Union about a free trade arrangement. And the negotiations broke down. And actually, what happened was the Canadian delegation exited the discussion and went back to Canada and really applied some emotional pressure to persuade the EU to agree to the deal. And exit as an influencing style is a bit controversial because it's all about taking time out and stopping. And actually, it's a great influencing style when you need to allow time and space when you're at an impasse or you're trying to diffuse some emotions. And often in discussions, emotions can get heated. People can get things can get personal. You might find you're getting nowhere. So the exit style can be really powerful in terms of just diffusing some of that emotion and giving people a chance to recharge and reconnect. So, it sounds a bit like, let's take a break. Let me reflect on your points and get back to you. I don't know the answer to that now. Let's come back again. It can also be very useful in an office situation when someone comes up to you with an immediate request. There's no need for you to act straight away. You can actually just pause and wait and say something like, oh, I'm just in the middle of something. Can I get back to you in half an hour or so? Or, okay, let me think about that and I'll respond quickly. And that little mini exit buys you a bit of time to think about your strategy, think about the approach that you want, work on how you're going to tackle this particular issue. And so exit is a great strategy when you're maybe at an impasse, you want to change gear, you want to buy yourself a bit of time, you want to approach things in a bit of a different way. And, look, this is not about bluffing or walking away. It's about just making sure that you take the moment and just take a pause in the conversation. And then the trick with exit, though, in influencing is to make sure that you reestablish a reconnect moment. So, look, if you're walking in the market and trying to negotiate with a person at a market stall and the negotiations go nowhere and you can't influence them to accept your price, the one you propose, then you walk away and you buy something from somewhere else and you've in fact failed in your influencing. So the difference between negotiating and influencing is that with your exit strategy is you need to establish that reconnect moment. So it's not about walking away. It's about actually saying, can we take a pause? Can we get a coffee? Can we come back in half an hour? So it's about making the pause rather than completely walking away. And I think that's the key difference between exit in influencing versus exit in negotiating. And so what you want to do when you're influencing someone is make sure if you are going to use the exit style, you do reconnect that moment. So what I've tried to do in the last 15 minutes or so is give you the 6 key influencing styles. Many people think that inform is the most important one, the data, the facts, the Hermione, the logic style. And that is true. But actually, you've got an opportunity to look at some different influencing styles. You've got the R of reward when you want to invest in the relationship. You've got the E of exchange when you want to make a trade and make a deal with someone. You've got the C of connect when you're building on the relationship and you're talking about trust and doing something together. You've got the I for inform, the data, the facts, and logic I mentioned earlier. You've got the P for picture, which is about vision and future and stories and putting people into the mix. And then you've got the E for exit. And I think, one of the things that I teach in some of my courses is around how you can recognize when to use each influencing style. And, the really best influencing happens when your preferred influencing style is the same as the person you're trying to influence. And I think one of the challenges that communicators have is that, we all, whether we're in communications or HR or operations or other functions, have a default influencing style. And that's great. But we also have a default style that we'd like to be persuaded with. So what you can do is you need to think about when you're working with a key stakeholder, what's going to be the style that is going to work with them. And is that the same as your preferred style? And if your style and their style are the same, then you're onto a winner. But sometimes when you're trying to influence, you'll find that actually your default style is different to the one that they like. Maybe you're a facts and data person, but actually they're going to be moved by visions and pictures and future states. If you can talk that language, then great. But sometimes you might find that the great influencing happens if you can bring a colleague along and who is better at that style than you. So it might be sometimes that you're going to be the best one to influence that stakeholder. It might be other times that you can get someone else to do it. And so one of the things I would encourage you to do is when you're going into an influencing discussion, have a think about what is the style that's likely to work. And is that your preferred style, or can you at least do that style? And if you can, fantastic. And if you can't, then maybe think about trying to find a colleague or trying to find a different approach or taking a different slant. So what I would say is, to summarize, we've got the 6 influencing styles, RESIPE, and that's your recipe for great influencing. If you can play and talk the right language for influencing, then great. Other times it may be that it's more successful for you to influence by somebody else. And on that note, I'm going to close. I'm going to be in the chat room for the next half an hour or so. So if you have any questions or discussions, then please drop me a line. And good luck in your influencing. And if you'd like a written copy of this talk, then please drop me a line and I can send you a little handout about it as well. And hopefully that's really been helpful to you, and speak to you soon. Bye.